Hey guys, I'm Christy.
I'm Sabrina.
And we're ABC Fit Collective. Today we're going to put you through a sneaky core workout, okay? So all you'll need today is actually just one weight. And if you don't have a weight, you could always grab some household items. For example, let's say a big thing of laundry detergent, grab some water bottles, etc. But you'll really just need for one side, okay? The purpose of today and the sneaky core is really when you're doing single-sided work, your core has to work to keep the opposite side from kind of moving. So I'll talk you through a lot of it. Sabrina's gonna move you through a lot of it. You can do this entire thing straight through, and then if you wanted to, you could revisit it again to get another set. We ready to do it? Let's do it. All right, we're gonna get started with a single-sided row. So when you're ready, you can maybe take one leg back if you'd like. You could also stand with feet hip distance apart. You've got one weight on one side, and we're gonna take a nice little row here. So core stays tight. You'll take a big pull, and then gently release. Nice big pull, gently release. Keep in mind, you wanna keep a long spine. So if this position doesn't feel so hot for you, you can always come up a little bit higher, right? I could always step that leg back. Making sure both hips are facing one direction, and both shoulders are nice and square. Now, if you're currently pregnant, especially later on in your pregnancy, you may want to work just a smidge higher. And that you can actually do placing a hand on, let's say, a couch or a chair so you have a better base of support. All right, once you get through those rows, let's say about 10 of those rows on one side, we're gonna take a reverse lunge. A reverse lunge, you can opt to keep the weight here so it forces you to keep the chest lifted. Now, I'm gonna also show you an option that is not a reverse lunge, it's more of a split stance. So Sabrina's gonna take you to that reverse lunge, I'll take you through a little split stance. All right, if you're with me on that split stance, you're gonna lift that back heel, you'll just melt this knee down and then come right back up. If you're with Sabrina, you're gonna take a nice big step back and then press those hips forward. Either way, here's where the sneaky core comes in. You're gonna pull the belly button in. When you get to the bottom, you wanna make sure your shoulders and your hips are nice and square. When you stand up, you wanna make sure that you get to another square position right here. All right, the sneaky core is working to keep you upright, to keep the shoulders and the hips square. Now, if you feel or if you find that you're dipping one hip or you're dropping or losing the shoulders, especially if you have eyes on yourself, like if you're doing it in front of a mirror or a camera, focus on taking a deep exhale. We're gonna take that deep exhale, pull the belly button in, and then step everything in. This exercise will help work the glutes. It also helps your balance, right? If you're really gonna work on balance while using your core. We're gonna rest there and we're gonna switch everything up. I suggest getting anywhere from 8 to 10 reps on one side, right, of your rows, and 8 to 10 reps on the reverse lunges. Now listen, if you're a newbie, start with 5, 6 reps, give it a try, and then we move up to maybe like that 8 to 10 range. Let's go for the rows on the second side. You'll take that hinge. Be mindful that you always do whatever you did on one side, do it here on the other. So for example, if you brought one arm forward on a chair, let's say, or if you step that opposite leg back and you decided to do it on the first side, try and mimic exactly what you did on the second side, right? You are working your core, the transverse rectus abdominis, those deep, deep muscles, and then your obliques, right? The obliques are kind of like these wrapping around core muscles. They're helping to keep your shoulders from doing all of this, right? We don't want to twist and rotate, especially if you're later on in the pregnancy. Once you get to number 10, we'll visit those either reverse lunges or your split stance, right? So if you were with me on that split stance, you're gonna lift that back heel, you'll melt the knee all the way down and then come right back up. All right, folks, so keep in mind, we wanna make sure that we're getting about 90 degrees through this front knee and 90 degrees through the back knee, and then press those hips forward, all right? Oftentimes, if you're doing that split stance, be mindful that we don't arch through the lower back. So try and tuck the pelvis under. It may mean that you actually keep this back knee bent, and that's okay, right? You're gonna get to anywhere from 8 to 10 on that exercise, right? So we're getting to those last few there. Now you can see Sabrina's holding this weight up. The shoulders are nice and square, the hips are nice and square, and that is coming from deep core activation. We are working out in socks, and that's so that way she can really use that front foot to grip the ground underneath. Once she gets to number 8, we're gonna move on to an overhead press, right? So you'll take that weight on one side, you'll roll those shoulders down the back, and we have that nice big press all the way up and then gently release. All the way up, gently release. Now you may notice, even though we're doing sneaky core, where there's no planks in sight, and there's no crunches or anything like that in sight, the primary muscle group, so the big muscle group that you're working on your overhead press, is gonna be your shoulders. The secondary muscle group that you're working is your core. We like to think no wrinkles on either side of your shirt. What does that mean? If I'm getting here, you can see my gray shirt, it's got a lot of wrinkles on one side. We want to release that. From there, we're gonna move. You'll lock the shoulder right back down. We're gonna move into a single-sided squat. That means the weight is on one side as you sit deep into your squat, right? So classic squat, drop the seat back, press those hips forward, but the weight is on one side. Again, take a look at your shirt. We're looking at external cues here. I'm not gonna tell you to strengthen this or pull this in right now. Just think about looking at your shirt. Are there any wrinkles on either side, right? Am I starting to lean? Another way to think about this is where's your weight, right? Yes, you have an external weight. Now, if you're currently pregnant, this may translate later on to holding a baby on one side. So really think about pulling the belly button in and keep your belly button right between your feet. Try not to shift over, right? Once you get to either 8 to 10 reps, we're gonna switch it to the overhead press on the second side. Let's go for it from here. Now, Sabrina's got a nice side angle for you, so you can see that there's no popping or bouncing or any sort of like looseness, let's say, from the lower back. And what do I mean by that? I mean there's not any of this movement. Think as if your shoulders, your lower back, your heels are like up against this imaginary wall, right? You're almost like always getting feedback. And now Sabrina locks that shoulder right down into the socket. Keep that elbow right under, almost as if the top of the thumb, let's say, can come up to the top of the shoulder. Once you get to anywhere from 8 to 10, remember to mimic what you did. On that first side, we move right into the squats. All right, so it's nice and easy. That shoulder just locks right back down. You're gonna sit deep into the squat and press those hips forward. Right? If you're currently pregnant, we strongly suggest keeping your feet facing forward, okay, in your squat. That's going to directly translate to the sits bones, which will allow the birth canal to open, setting you up for that big event, which is birth, okay? So keeping in mind, try and keep the feet together. If you're working on, or let's say your post, you can turn the toes out slightly, right? So you get a little bit more rotation, but all the while you're thinking about your core. Pulling the belly button in, make this that sneaky core work by keeping both sides of your shirt nice and square, nice and even. Once you get to number 8 or 10, like you did on that first side, you are set. You can opt to do that whole thing again, so just pull us back and rewind, right? Or if that was enough for today, that might be enough for today, all right? A quick little exercise. Now, stay tuned, guys. We're gonna do another sneaky core set that's gonna take place all on the mat, and you'll only need one weight or one of those household items. Thanks, guys, and hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see you guys in the next video.